Experience miraculous healing in 40 days through the power of forgiveness and divine prayer. In the heart of a quaint hamlet, where time flows gently over radiant wildflowers and cottages hug the earth, lived Thomas, a humble carpenter whose hands shaped not only wood, but also the faith of his beloved village. The sun-drenched mornings found him crafting furniture, while his resonant voice uplifted spirits at St. Michael's Church each Sunday. "Draw closer, dear friends," he would declare, filling the sacred space with a warmth that turned hearts from chill to glow. Yet, beneath that steadfast exterior, the wind was shifting. One fateful day, Thomas's world was shaken. Little Emma, his cherished daughter, was stricken with an illness deemed incurable. Whispers floated through the village streets, mingling with the fragrant air of blooming lilacs. Faces turned towards the ground, fear gripping their hearts. Thomas felt the sorrow like a storm cloud overhead, but with each rise and fall of his chest, he clung to the light of faith ignited by Father John's recent sermon. "Grace, my friends. It is grace that unlocks like no earthly key," he preached passionately, stirring hope in weary souls. Driven by love deeper than the roots of the ancient oaks surrounding them, Thomas decided to embark on a sacred journey, a bold 40-day quest of prayer and forgiveness, with the healing of his daughter as his beacon. He knew that the power of reconciliation could ignite divine change. So he knelt at his workbench, the scent of freshly cut wood filling his nostrils, and he began to confront painful memories of betrayal from childhood. As he released that bitterness, it felt like chains falling away, but the struggle escalated within his own home, tension rippled like water disturbed by a stone. The children, innocent and confused, questioned their father's fervent pursuit of grace. "Why must we forgive him, Father? He hurt us," they pleaded, their small faces etched with worry. As Thomas tried to explain, an indescribable heaviness settled over him, mixing hope with doubt. Had his faith tamed the darkness, extinguishing the light in his own hearth? As the days ticked down and the community began to doubt, Thomas knelt in the quiet of St. Michael's, the air still and thick with unspoken prayers. On the 39th day, anguish clawed at the edges of his heart. What was he truly fighting for? Just then, Mary entered, her face shadowed by uncertainty. Tears glistened, each drop 1,000 prayers unsaid. "Oh, Thomas, what if this is all for naught?" she whispered, and in that moment, he realized, his battle was as much for his family as for Emma. With the dawn of the 40th day, a divine anticipation shimmered in the morning light. Villagers gathered, whispering prayers woven with hope. Together, they traveled to the hospital, a collective breath held tight as Thomas approached Emma's frail figure. His hands hovered above her, trembling yet determined, as he poured forth every fiber of his being into prayer. "In the power of divine forgiveness, I seek your mercy." The atmosphere thickened, and as his voice ascended, a flicker of light danced across the room, a whisper from heaven. But would his unwavering faith bring forth a miracle? The light shining through the window cast celestial rays onto Emma's bed, illuminating her frail form. A wave of divine presence surged, filling the hearts of everyone present with anticipation, as if heaven itself were on the brink of revealing wonders beyond comprehension. Will this journey of faith, fraught with trials, yield the healing they yearn for? As silence enveloped the room, the tension hung palpably in the air, evoking only one unanswered question: what miracle awaited them at the dawn of a new beginning? The answer lingered just beyond reach, a shimmering promise glimmering in the shadows of hope. Thomas felt the air grow thick with expectancy, a sacred hush wrapping around him like a warm blanket. The faces of loved ones were a blur, each expression a tapestry woven from threads of hope and fear. His heart pounded as he recalled all the prayers he had uttered over the past few weeks, the nights of wrestling with doubt, and the moments of clarity that had shone through like beacons. That he knelt beside Emma, taking her tiny, fragile hand in his. The warmth of her skin, though faint, stirred something deep within him, a reminder that love is the greatest healer. Every whisper of doubt he'd carried began to drift away, and in its place bloomed an unwavering certainty that God was with them. "Lord, hear my prayer," he breathed, his voice low and steady. "You know my heart. You see the pain in Emma's eyes. I surrender it all to you. He closed his eyes, envisioning a bright light filling the room, bathing Emma in warmth and healing. In that moment, the boundaries between heaven and earth seemed to thin. As minutes stretched into eternity, a profound stillness enveloped them. The whispers of the gathered villagers faded, leaving only the faint sound of Thomas's quiet prayer hanging in the crisp air. Time felt suspended. It was as if the universe itself paused to listen. And then, with a gentle rustle, an inexplicable sensation washed over Thomas and the room. Emma's eyelids fluttered, a flicker of life sparked in her pale cheeks. Thomas's heart leaped. A miracle was taking shape. The village folk watched with bated breath, a chorus of gasps echoing as hope ignited like fireflies in the dusk. Emma! His voice broke through the stillness, a rush of unrestrained emotion bursting forth as he leaned closer. Emma's eyes slowly opened, revealing a clarity that had been absent for far too long. Sweetheart, can you hear me? Her lips formed an almost imperceptible smile, not just with her mouth but sparkling in her eyes. Daddy, the single word escaped her, buoyed by the sweetest honey of love. Tears streamed down Thomas's face, streams of joy mingling with disbelief. The reality of her return was unfurling beneath his fingertips. He sensed the presence of the divine in that sacred space. Heaven reaching down. Across the room, the villagers collectively exhaled. Murmurs of praise filled the air, each heart lifting in unison. The gentle light flooded in more vibrantly and enveloped Emma, a mesmerizing glow that danced against the stark hospital walls. Thomas felt a charge of gratitude fill him, drenching his spirit in a divine richness. Please, God. Let this be the beginning of her healing, he uttered, overwhelmed by emotion. What he had sought for seemed to cascade down upon them, pouring like holy rain. Each person present felt it too, their faith rekindled, hope reborn amidst the flickering shadows of despair. But even as joy poured in waves, his heart remembered the question that weighed heavier now: would forgiveness truly lead to healing, both for Emma and for their family? The journey had waded through deep waters, all for a promise, a prayer, a belief that life can be restored. As the villagers began to sing an impromptu song of praise, a bittersweet thought hovered. Could the healing extend beyond this moment into the hearts of all present? What would it mean for those who had felt distant from grace? The miracle unfolding was just the tip of a greater reality, one yet to be fully revealed. Thomas sensed there were riddles yet to unravel. What would God's divine plan weave in the tapestry of their lives ahead? Would all burdens, past pains, and unspoken fears meet resolution through a newfound understanding? Hope shimmered on the horizon, promising yet another twist in this wondrous journey as they stood on the brink of even deeper revelations. With heads bowed in thankfulness, they awaited the unfolding of God's love. A palpable excitement coursed through the room, as if the very air vibrated with divine possibility. Thomas looked at Emma, her smile slowly spreading warmth through the hearts of everyone around. The previously silent ache of despair began to transform into songs of joy that echoed softly against the sterile walls. "Can you feel that, Emma?" he whispered, his voice barely able to contain the flood of emotion. "There's a new strength within you. God is working miracles." With a tender gaze, Emma nodded, her eyes reflecting a blend of wonder and determination. Thomas felt a profound urge to gather those around him, to share this moment of divine restoration, a celebration that transcended their personal trials. They were all witnesses, inhabitants of this sacred milestone. "Come closer, everyone," he called out, his voice steady. Those who had been watching from a distance rushed forward, their faces bathed in reverence and hope. They formed a circle around the hospital bed, the air thick with anticipation. Each heart was filled with gratitude, sensing the stirring of something greater gathering among them. "Let us pray together," Thomas proposed, extending an arm to invite unity. Hands clasped and voices lifted, each villager pouring forth their own heart's request. "Lord, we thank you for this miracle. We seek healing not just for Emma, but for each of us. We ask for forgiveness, Lord, as forgiveness leads us back to you." The words flowed like water, words of forgiveness, of healing, of longing for connection. With each syllable, Thomas felt the burdens weighing on his own heart begin to lift. The shadows of regret and sorrow that lingered began to recede, lighting the path toward wholeness. As they prayed, something incredible happened. A surge of warmth enveloped them, as if the very presence of God wrapped around every soul gathered in that moment. Thomas felt it first. It started in his chest, a radiant warmth spreading outwards, igniting every fiber of his being with divine assurance. And it wasn't just him, he saw it reflected on the faces around him. Tears took form, not out of sorrow but pure joy, as one by one, they surrendered layers of hurt and pain to a loving God. "Yes, Lord, fill us with your Spirit." A voice cried out nearby, echoing the collective hunger for divine embrace. Thomas remembered the moments of trial leading up to this, a tapestry woven with threads of doubt, pain, but also threads of unwavering faith. He marveled at how God had led him here, to see the healing of Emma, to stand among neighbors who had once felt isolated, now united as a family in Christ. As silence enveloped the room, Thomas opened his eyes, meeting Emma's gaze once more. There was a new lightness in her smile, a sparkle of life that shook off the dust of despair. "What do we do next?" she asked, her voice a soft melody. He marveled at the simplicity of her question, yet it echoed deep within him. Healing was not just about her. It was about the community. They were all partaking in this miracle together. A new chapter was unfolding, one that called for exploration, for revelation. "Now, we carry this light forward, Emma. Together, we share this healing, spread this grace." What began as a moment of singular healing blossomed into a mission, a charge to share the beautiful redemption they had experienced. But as Thomas spoke of their next steps, a thought flickered in his heart. Would they also have the courage to face the shadows of their past as the path of forgiveness opened before them? With hearts lifted and expectations high, they looked to the horizon, ready for the journey ahead. Each soul carried stories yet to be told, with new chapters waiting to be written in their lives. How would they navigate the waters of forgiveness? The atmosphere crackled with suspense as they prepared to embrace not just a miracle, but perhaps a deeper understanding of divine grace itself. As the prayer closed, a hush fell over the room like a soft blanket. The warmth lingered, weaving through the hearts of everyone present. Thomas could sense an unshakable unity, as if they were all part of a larger tapestry knit by divine hands. Emma, still beaming, turned her gaze to the group, her spirit radiating hope. "Let us begin by sharing our stories," Thomas suggested, feeling the weight of the moment. The idea was simple, yet profound. They had all been through trials, each carrying a burden that yearned for release. "Let us talk about what we each need to heal." One by one, the villagers began to open their hearts. There was Rachel, a mother who had lost her child years ago. Her voice trembled as she spoke of grief that still echoed in her life. "I thought I had moved on, but it still lingers like a shadow," she admitted, tears shimmering in her eyes. "What if we pray for her together?" Another voice suggested, brimming with tenderness. The group joined hands again and lifted their prayers, sending love and light toward Rachel's wound. The room felt charged, as if each prayer became a thread stitching together the pieces of her broken heart. Next was James, a once jovial man who had retreated into bitterness after losing his job due to the economic downturn. "I've held on to anger so tightly," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I know I need to let it go for me." The group exchanged knowing glances, recognizing the brave step he was taking. As the prayers for James enveloped him, Thomas observed the collective power of their words. It was not just the individuals being healed, but a profound shift was taking place in their community, a kingdom of healing being birthed. Their small circle became a sacred space, with each shared story becoming a beacon of light. Someone else spoke of strained family relationships, while another shared about losing faith altogether. Hearts cracked open as vulnerability filled the air. It was beautiful, raw, and utterly human. Emma finally spoke, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "We can't forget where we came from or what has caused us pain. But through forgiveness, we're inviting transformation into our lives," she said, her faith radiating warmth. Let us take turns asking for forgiveness, Thomas encouraged, his spirit soaring. Not just from each other, but for ourselves too. With the sound of his words, a gentle hum filled the room. People began sharing fleeting memories tied with regret, soft apologies passing through cracked smiles. Each uttered word became a step toward redemption, releasing old chains that bound them. They were offering more than forgiveness, they were reclaiming their lives. As the healing began its work, an unfamiliar peace settled. Thomas sensed a new layer of grace coating their gathering, thick and rich. In that sacred moment, every wound whispered a secret to the others, the bonds of their shared humanity intertwined like vines on sturdy trellises. But amidst this sacred work, a question stirred at the back of Thomas's mind. What awaited them as they took this journey deeper into forgiveness? Would they find true healing, or would the shadows of their past emerge to challenge them again? The group's energy shifted, a flicker of uncertainty weaving through the warmth. Each soul felt the weight of transformation, both exhilarating and daunting. They were now fully committed to this pilgrimage of forgiveness. Let us commit to this mission, every day for the next 40 days, Thomas proposed, feeling the stirring in his heart. We'll pray, share, and support one another. But we must be bold. The room hummed with agreement, a tapestry of souls united in purpose. Yet, Thomas couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. As they stood together, the night outside mirrored their uncertain journey, shadows mingling with the flickering light of hope. What awaited them in the unfolding days? With collective faith and a fragile hope, they stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever miracles and challenges lay ahead. The day dawned bright and clear, the sunlight spilling through the window as if heaven itself were pouring blessings upon the village. Each soul within the small gathering felt a shift overnight, an unexplained stirring urging them forward. Thomas greeted everyone with a smile, feeling the shared commitment humming in the air, like the first soft notes of a new song. Today marks day one of our journey, he proclaimed, his voice filled with both excitement and reverence. Let's dedicate our hearts to healing, one story at a time. Everyone hugged their cushions a little tighter as they settled back into the sacred space, the firewood crackling softly, mirroring the warmth growing within them. Rachel spoke first again, her spirit a bit brighter than the previous night. This morning, I remembered a song my child loved. It washed over me like a gentle stream, she shared, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, both sorrowful and sweet. I realized that the love I have for him is not bound to my grief. It can dance in joy. Nods of understanding rippled through the group. The power of love revealed itself, somehow larger than sorrow. James leaned in next, his sadness transforming into vulnerability. It feels strange to think of myself again, after all this time. Today, when I walked by the old bakery, I felt a glimmer of happiness. I want to bring joy back into my life. With that acknowledgement, a subtle smile tugged at his lips, a sign of hope breaking through the heaviness inside. Each story unfolded, layer by layer. One woman spoke of lost opportunities, another about isolation. Each voice met kindness, and with every declaration, the shadows receded further into the corners of their hearts. The love swirling in the room became an ocean, lifting all boats equally, making them buoyant enough to float beyond despair. Emma expanded on the concept of forgiveness. We need to remember, she said softly, that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means letting go of the grip our past has on us. Her words resonated deeply, like a bell ringing clear in the stillness. After sharing their stories, Thomas encouraged everyone to write down their pain and regrets on small pieces of paper. This is a physical act of release, he explained. Let us commit to bury them outside, as a mark of letting go. As they wrote, Thomas observed their expressions, some brows furrowed in concentration, others in deep thought, while a few eyes glistened with tears. It was a turbulent but cathartic process, releasing burdens they had clung to for so long. Each person took their turn, stepping outside to bury their notes in the earthy soil, as if planting seeds of revival. When they returned to the gathering, the glory of forgiveness illuminated the room. Each person carried a lighter spirit, a renewed sense of purpose sparking in their eyes. The whispers of doubt were still present, but they felt empowered to face them. As they bowed their heads in prayer, Thomas sensed something changing. An unseen energy was swirling around them, beckoning them toward a deeper understanding of grace. May we find strength in each other. And may we open our hearts to unexpected revelations, he prayed softly, feeling the warmth engulf them anew. A moment of stillness followed, as though the universe paused to listen. Then, from the back of the room, a soft voice broke the silence. What if the pain we heal becomes the source for new life? A ripple went through the group, whispers of curiosity and wonder igniting. Could their healing indeed give birth to something new? The day unfolded beautifully, yet Thomas couldn't shake the sense that they were only beginning to scratch the surface of divine understanding. What would the next day hold? What would their journey reveal about the miraculous nature of healing through forgiveness and love? With hearts wide open, they prepared to face another day, with the mysteries of tomorrow holding the promise of divine transformation. The sun stretched higher in the sky as the second day began, casting a warm golden glow upon the gathering. A sense of anticipation filled the room, and each person seemed to pulse with a renewed energy, as if they had been anointed by the light itself. Thomas stood at the center, heart swelling with gratitude for the community that had formed around him, each soul a thread in the tapestry of healing. Welcome back, dear friends, he began, his voice steady and inviting. Today, we dive deeper. Let us explore what it means to find grace in the cracks of our past. As he spoke, Rachel raised her hand, her face bright with inspiration. Yesterday made me think pain can really clarify our purpose. Without it, we might overlook the beauty we have in every little moment. Her words were like a balm soothing the raw edges of their spirits. James nodded emphatically, leaning forward. Exactly. I've been dwelling on regret, but what if I viewed each misstep as a step toward finding joy? It's all part of my journey. His declaration resonated, striking chords of realization within each member of the group. Slowly, members began to share breakthroughs they had experienced overnight. One after another, they connected the dots between their pain and the potential for joy. Emma added, I'm learning that our hardships can become our greatest gifts. They push us toward growth. These reflections turned their hearts toward something greater. Each story lifted another soul, weaving a web of faith and understanding. They were beginning to grasp the idea that their pain wasn't an end but a twist in their divine path. Then, Thomas felt an urge. It was time for prayer again. Let us unite our spirits in petition, he said, closing his eyes as they followed suit. May we be granted the wisdom to see that every moment of suffering can unveil a deeper joy within us. In the silence following the prayer, a gust of wind slipped through the window, carrying with it a sense of tranquility. It wrapped around them like a sacred embrace, and some felt cool tears rolling down their cheeks, but this time they were tears of release, a cleansing of burdens long held. As they opened their eyes, Thomas noticed something remarkable. The atmosphere had shifted. Light seemed to glow brighter, but it wasn't just the sun. It was as if each heart was glowing with new insights, souls shimmering with the brightness of dawning understanding. With deep reverence, an elderly man spoke up, voice trembling with sincerity. I've been afraid of the healing. What if it reveals too much pain? But what if I've been missing the call to deeper love? His words sent tremors of thought throughout the room. The air thickened with the weight of possibility. Thomas sensed that fear, so human and common, was also a precursor to profound steps. In our healing, we are not just mending ourselves. We are embarking on a mission of love. What if we let our vulnerability teach us courage? A collective murmur rippled through the gathering, a sacred agreement forming with the air they breathed. What if we see suffering as a door, not a wall? Rachel whispered, her eyes alight with the spark of revelation. Then each story, James added, could truly become a testimony of transformation. The realization was palpable. Their hearts ignited with visions of new life, the kind that could flourish from the soil of past hurts. They sat in a charged silence, reflecting on the vastness of their potential. As they prepared to step out for their daily practices, an incredible thought lingered in the air. What if their healing journey this week opened a pathway to not just personal revival but a revival for their community? With hearts kindled and eyes bright with divine expectation, they stood ready to explore the uncharted territories of forgiveness and love. What miracles awaited them in the shadows of their past? As Thomas beckoned them to rise, a hum of excitement filled the room. The air was thick with the warmth of hope and the promise of transformation. Today, they would venture beyond mere words and into action, each step a testament to their commitment to healing. A gentle breeze wafted through the open window, scattering the scent of blooming flowers into the space. It was as if nature itself was cheering them on. Today, we'll practice the art of letting go, Thomas instructed, a spark igniting in his eyes. We'll take what we've learned and translate it into tangible acts of forgiveness. Rachel's heart raced upon hearing the notion. Forgiveness seems daunting, doesn't it? She said, glancing at her companions. How do we forgive when the wounds feel too deep? James stepped in confidently. Forgiveness isn't about excusing the pain. It's about freeing ourselves from being held captive by it. He turned to the group, inviting their gaze. It's an act of courage choosing to release the burden we've been shouldering. The group fell silent, considering the weight of his words. Each member was a tapestry woven from experiences, moments of pain and joy pulling at the threads. Thomas saw this hesitation and understood this wasn't just an exercise, it was a deep calling to the heart. We'll begin by writing down our hurts, he advised gently, encouraging them to face the discomfort. Name them. Acknowledge the emotions they hold. Soft rustling of paper surrounded them as everyone took a moment to reflect. As the pen scratched against the pages, Thomas caught the flicker of vulnerability on many faces. Each stroke was a release, grief poured out like a river, cascading over rocks of memory. He recalled his own journey and how the act of naming pain had paved the way for healing. Now, take those papers, he instructed. Find a small, sacred spot outside where you can lay them down. As you do, say out loud, I release you. Feel the weight lift as you speak. They nodded in understanding, intrigued and hesitant yet ready. One by one, they filed out. Thomas watched as they walked into the embrace of the sun. He hoped they could feel the Holy Spirit moving in that very moment. Freedom was only a step away. Outside, the golden light wrapped around them like a warm hug. Each person connected with their surroundings, trees swaying gently and birds chirping as if in solidarity with their intentions. Rachel found a quiet corner beside a blossoming tree, its petals fluttering like confetti. With trembling hands, she placed her written words at the base of the trunk. I release you, she whispered. Suddenly, a rush of warmth washed over her, tears cascading down her cheeks, not of sorrow, but of relief. She was learning to forgive, not just others but herself. Around the garden, similar scenes unfolded. James stood immersed in thought, feeling the weight of years slip away with every I release you. Emma noticed the colors around her brightening, shadows receding as the burdens lifted. The air felt thicker with hope, embracing them anew. After a time, they regrouped, eyes glistening with the light of newfound freedom. How does it feel? Thomas asked, regarding their auras of glow. It's liberating. Rachel replied, breathless. I didn't realize how much I was holding on to. James added, this is just the start. What comes after forgiveness? Thomas smiled, a knowing look passing among them. That's the mystery. Forgiveness opens doors we can't yet see. What awaits us on the other side? Only time and faith will reveal. Their hearts leaned into the unknown together, excited yet humble. The echoes of miracles began to stir within them, foreshadowing greater steps ahead. Today marked not just the shedding of past burdens but the birth of something transformative. Would they be ready for the next chapter in their adventure of love and healing? What revelations awaited them at the intersection of grace and vulnerability? The sun began its slow descent, casting a golden hue across the garden as the group gathered once more. There was a peaceful energy in the air, thick with the fragrance of lilacs and the light chattering of birds returning to their nests. Yet, beneath this tranquility, a current of anticipation rippled through them. They had conquered one mountain of pain, but numerous paths lay ahead. Thomas sensed their collective curiosity, eager to explore the dimension beyond forgiveness. "What if I told you," he began, his voice steady but warm, "that what follows forgiveness can be just as profound? Today, we'll focus on healing." The word hung in the air like a sigh of relief, and Rachel's heart began to race again, a mixture of hope and trepidation. "Healing?" she echoed, her mind racing through the scars she feared still lingered. "Yes," Thomas responded, his eyes sparkling with inspiration. "Healing is the beautiful gift of acknowledgement and acceptance. It's the homecoming of our spirit, restoring what was once lost. After releasing our burdens, we create spaciousness for joy and wholeness." Emma stepped forward, her curiosity piqued. "How do we heal what we can't see?" Thomas smiled, recognizing the depth in her question. "Healing often begins with the whispers of the heart. Sometimes, we must seek the stillness to hear those whispers. Let us explore the power of prayer and intention. A silent wish, a spoken prayer, or a heartfelt thought can open the very doors we need." Each person felt the weight of his words settling in their chests. Thomas gestured toward a circle of stones nearby, arranged like a welcoming embrace. "Join me there. We'll ask for guidance. This circle symbolizes unity, each of us a part of something greater. It's sacred ground, and here we will invite the divine." Slowly, they moved towards the stones, hearts pounding in unison. Sitting cross-legged, they formed a perfect circle under the watchful gaze of the trees. The whispers of the wind wrapped around them like a soft blanket. Thomas led with a calm, melodic voice. "Let us close our eyes. Breathe deeply and release your thoughts. In this quiet, seek the presence of God. Invite any hurts or fears before Him." As they inhaled, a golden light streamed through the leafy canopy, illuminating their faces. With each breath, they sank deeper into stillness, losing track of time. Rachel felt an unexpected swell in her chest, warmth that pulsed like a heartbeat. She could see flashes of color behind closed eyes, yellows, blues, vibrant greens. A voice, gentle yet powerful, urged her to picture what healing looked like for her. What did she wish to mend? "I wish to be free from my past," she whispered in her mind. "I wish to embrace joy fully." James, too, felt a surge of emotion. Memories surfaced, faces of those he had hurt, those who had hurt him, the echoes of unhealed wounds. He opened his eyes, glancing at the flickering light of unity around him. What if our healing leads to collective restoration? A sense of responsibility settled upon them all. Each one's healing intertwined with the others. Emma's eyes sparkled as she spoke. "Together, we can create a ripple effect beyond this garden." "Exactly," Thomas exclaimed, excitement lighting up his face. "When we heal, we not only renew ourselves but also transform our surroundings. This is not just about individual journeys, it's about our community." The group mirrored the awe mirrored in Thomas's enthusiasm, heart swelling with the possibilities. Yet a question danced in Rachel's mind, lingering like a whisper. How do we ensure our healing sticks? The air buzzed with unspoken energy, and they all turned to Thomas, awaiting the profound insight he was certain to share. His smile deepened. "This, my friends, is the miracle that awaits us next. How can we keep the flames of healing burning bright when faced with storms?" Their eyes sparkled with wonder and determination. The light of faith beckoned them onward, deeper into the mystery. What lay ahead in their sacred journey? Would they discover the secret to sustained healing and transformation at the edge of faith and community? As the last words from Thomas mingled with the gentle rustle of leaves, an expectant silence filled the air. The group exchanged glances, each pondering the weight of his question. Could they truly find a way to maintain the glow of their healing? Thomas continued to radiate warmth, his gaze sweeping across the circle of joined hands. The key, dear friends, lies in commitment and community. Just as a flame needs fuel and care, so does our healing. Let me share a story. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment. Not long ago, I witnessed a dear friend carry a heavy burden of grief. It was suffocating. But over time, through open conversations and bright prayers shared among friends, she found hope. Each person offered pieces of their own healing, their warmth igniting hers. Together, they set her heart aflame with divine love. Rachel leaned in, her spirit hungry for hope. What did she do? How did she keep the light shining? Every day, Thomas explained, she embraced gratitude. Even on the dimmest days, she would find something to be thankful for, be it the beauty of the sunrise or a stranger's smile. This practice grounded her and made it easier to embrace joy again. Inspired, Emma caught the vision. So, gratitude speaks to healing? Yes. It's our way to acknowledge the goodness that still exists amidst pain. Gratitude reminds us we're not alone. It connects us back to the divine. He gestured towards the flowery garden surrounding them. Look around. What beauty can you draw from here? They paused and breathed in the scents of lilacs and damp earth, noticing the vibrant colors that painted their world. A sweet harmony blossomed among them. James took a moment, letting the atmosphere of gratitude linger. I want to share my thankfulness for this group. You inspire me to be better, to rise above my burdens. Tears brimmed in Rachel's eyes as she nodded, feeling her heart swelling. It's true. I am grateful for each of you. You're helping me embrace my challenges. Thomas smiled broadly, joy sparkling in his eyes. This is the essence of community. Our intertwining stories strengthen each of us. Remember, when we express gratitude, we also invite in hope and healing. Can we practice this today? Emma suggested excitedly, her voice rising in enthusiasm. Let us each take a moment to express something we're grateful for. They nodded in agreement, a rush of inspiration circulating through the group. One by one, they began to share tiny snippets of gratitude that lifted their spirits. Laughter mingled with heartfelt sighs. The air thickened with love, each word igniting something divine. As they finished, Thomas looked around at the glowing faces before him. Now we have a sacred practice, a bond we can return to even on harder days. Every reaching of the heart toward gratitude powers our healing. Let me encourage you, let us create a daily rhythm. We will gather, share, and pray together each day for 40 days. Just as the healing is a journey, so too will our gratitude be. With delighted murmurs, they all agreed. The thought of each other becoming a source of light fueled their collective excitement. But just then, a question surfaced like a gentle breeze. What if we falter? James asked, an edge of concern in his voice. What if we stumble? How do we find our way back? Thomas smiled knowingly. Ah, my friends, that question holds the answer to our next step. In our fragility lies an opportunity for deeper connection with the divine. What happens when we learn to embrace our stumbles and see them as part of the journey? Each heart within the circle pulsed with curiosity, ready for the next phase of their exploration. Would they discover the grace waiting amidst their struggles? Would they find the strength to rise, even in the stumbles? The sun rose over the quaint hamlet, spilling golden light through the windows of St. Michael's Church, where Thomas, brimming with gratitude, prepared for the final day of their sacred journey. The community, once tethered by pain, now stood unified in love, hearts ablaze with a collective strength that shimmered like the morning dew. As the villagers gathered, an infectious energy hummed in the air. Each face reflected the transformations that had occurred over the previous week's. Wounds had begun to heal, burdens to lighten, and spirits to soar. Thomas stood at the forefront, ready to reflect on their journey, a path carved through tears and laughter, forgiveness and grace. Welcome back, cherished friends. He called out, his voice resonating with affection. Today is not just the culmination of our 40 days together, but also a new beginning. Each of you has sown seeds of healing in your hearts. Now, it's time to nurture these gardens. Let us gather in a circle, he encouraged, and as they formed the familiar embrace, Thomas marveled at the tapestry woven through their shared experiences. He began to speak of the miracles witnessed the moment Emma regained her spark, the heavy burdens lifted from Rachel, and James's courage to embrace joy that felt foreign. Forgiveness has guided us through the storm, he continued. It showed us that healing is not merely a solitary journey but a tapestry spun from many threads. And today, we complete this beautiful weave. We acknowledge the power of each other in this circle. So, let us take turns sharing the gifts we've been given. One by one, villagers spoke of the light they had discovered within. Rachel, her voice steady, recounted how her child's memory had turned from a weight to a guiding light, urging her toward compassion. I celebrate his spirit daily now, and my heart feels fully alive, she said, tears sparkling with joy. James followed, his face radiant. The anger that once clouded my heart transformed into gratitude. Each day brings a new reason to smile, and each of you has played a part in that shift. His voice echoed with sincerity, igniting a flame of hope in others. Then, it was Emma's turn. She stood tall, her radiant smile illuminating the space. I once felt lost in my sickness, but now, I see my illness was a catalyst for us all. Forgiveness and love transformed me to a new version of myself. God's light shines through our struggles. As she spoke, a deep peace settled over them, and Thomas felt the divine presence crackle in the air. It was a grace so profound that it ignited something deep within, a sacred longing to spread this healing beyond their village, to those who still walked in darkness. We've all been touched, but let us take this light into our community. We've been called to share, he suggested, and a collective whisper of agreement rippled through the circle. But how? Rachel asked, glancing around. What can we do? With a fervor in his heart, Thomas replied, we'll hold gatherings, spread stories of hope, and invite outsiders into our circle. We'll plant seeds of faith, just as we have in our hearts. Our village can flourish through our shared journey. In that moment, a collective understanding swelled. They were not just a group healed by grace but a beacon for others. With renewed vigor, they began planning the kind of outreach that would envelop the village in divine love, igniting hearts everywhere. As the sun set, casting vibrant hues across the horizon, they joined in prayer, hands clasped in a fervor of thanks. Lord, may our acts of love bring healing to those who feel lost. Let the grace we've found flow like rivers into our community, Thomas prayed, the fervor of every heart rising in unison. The warmth enveloped them, and Thomas opened his eyes to the brightness of Emma and the inspired faces of his fellow villagers. In that sacred space, surrounded by so much love, every ache, every doubt, every ounce of grief transformed into grateful anticipation for the journey ahead. As they stepped out into the evening glow, light danced in the air, illuminating the path before them, a path leading to divine possibilities, to hearts restored, and to lives forever changed. This was the moment their journey promised. They would no longer walk in the shadows of despair but embrace the vibrant tapestry of forgiveness and healing spreading throughout their community. Let us take this light forth. Thomas called out, and with joyful hearts, they ventured into the village, ready to share not just stories, but their very lives. With each step, they became a living testimony to the power of faith, healing, and above all love. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread this message of hope. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. True servants of God understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.